Oh, the X-Men, forever misunderstood in a world that fears and hates them. Unfortunately for our outcast heroes, even those that claim to be their biggest fans tend to misunderstand them far more than they believe. Whether it be due to differing plots in the cartoons, movies, or even video games, some have come to believe things about these outsiders that, just like your parents' love, simply isn't true. We could blame the writers themselves, as simply they'll often ignore a character's history, change facts to fit their own stories, or simply create something that is so elaborate that readers lose their way in a labyrinth of stories. Well, have no fear, true believers. I'm Jules from WhatCulture.com, and I'm here to set the record straight with 9 things that everyone gets wrong about the X-Men. Number 9. Rogue's history. One of the most misunderstood of all mutants, poor Rogue has forever been cursed, much like having a restraining order, with the inability to touch others lest she drain their full life energies. Despite this, she continues to fight on for the good of the population that both hates her and will never understand the pain she feels. But did you know that Rogue was actually once a villain? In fact, she was a pretty nasty lady, using her powers to get whatever she wanted under the guidance of Mystique, her adopted mother. She had absolutely no qualms about doing harm to others, including teammates such as Storm, Wolverine, and the most important of all X-members, Dazzler. Not to mention that she had many fights with the Avengers. Rogue's biggest rivalry, however, was with the woman whose life she stole, Carol Danvers. For those of you who didn't know, Rogue used her powers to completely drain Carol's life force, permanently stealing her super abilities and psyche. Housing Carol's psyche within her own caused Rogue to go raving mad, and eventually she sought help from rolling snooker ball Professor Xavier. This is where Rogue joined the X-Men, and was pretty much forgiven for her villainous past, most of which was blamed on Rogue's own fragile psyche and Mystique's manipulations. Number 8. Supposedly useless powers. Within every group of super beings, there's going to be one that awes fans with their impressive displays of power, like Storm or Havoc. But with every hero wielding energies far beyond the normal power spectrum, there are going to be those that are seemingly useless. Many fans sprawled across the wide sea of the internet have been extremely critical of certain X-Men, but is this judgment fair? I mean, not really. Instead, it's but another example of one thing that everyone tends to get wrong. A favourite example of a mutant who gets no respect is Dazzler. See, that was foreshadowing earlier. Being able to convert sound into light may not sound cool, but if you put some serious thought into it, you'll understand why it's anything but useless. Not only is Alison Blair able to absorb sound to create light, but in doing so is able to create a field of complete silence. In what world is stealth useless? And as far as light goes, those who wrote that such powers are weak obviously have no knowledge on how the visual system works. It takes only a single flash from the harshest intensity to blind a victim. Photon particles can also be hardened into lasers, which Dazzler once used to blow off part of Psylocke's face. Not seeming so useless now then. Another young mutant with powers similar only in appearance to Dazzler is Jubilee. While many presume that shooting fireworks is a useless power, they A. have obviously never had a firework go off in their face, and B. don't seem to get how Jubilee's powers actually work. She actually fires off energy plasmoids that have the potential to be used on a subatomic level, and I'm not sure about you, but that's something I'd rather avoid, as the thought of exploding from the inside out or nuking my dangle sack is enough to make my skin invert. So while we may be quick to judge a character's powers, we mustn't forget that no power is truly useless. Well, except for lesser known characters like Jazz, whose power is being blue. Number 7. The enigma that is Deadpool. Ever since he was given his first solo series in the 90s, the character of Deadpool has become a bit of an obsession with Marvel fanboys across the globe. And now with a hit film under his belt and a line about using a child's hand to masturbate with, he's pretty much cemented himself in the mainstream media. One thing that people confuse, however, is whether or not the red or black attack can actually die. Well, there actually is an instance in the comics which details the exact reasons that Deadpool can't die. Wade Wilson was actually cursed with immortality by Thanos for his involvement with Death, whom the latter is infatuated with. How many of you knew that? Also commonly misconceived by fans is Deadpool's status as an X-Man. While many believe that Deadpool to be among their ranks, he's actually not. Only recently was Deadpool given probationary membership upon his arrival to Utopia. In reality, Deadpool is only a self-professed member of the X-Men. Number 6. Not everyone is a mutant. It seems to be that everyone is just assumed to be a child of the Atom, which just simply isn't true, and something which characters like Juggernaut would take offense to.
I'm not a mutant, Tinhead. My powers are magical.
Jugs actually received his powers from a mystic gem known as the Gem of Cyttorak. He then became a pretty hefty villain before joining the X-Men in the early 2000s, though he's since fallen back onto his old ways. Other former X-Men are also non-mutants, including Longshot, who's actually an extra-dimensional being. Lately, the X-Men have been adding many non-mutant members to their team. Examples include Warbird and Hepzibah, who are also both aliens. Other characters such as Phantom X have been allowed into the ranks, while the X-Club, featuring many humans, has been getting quite a lot of attention as well. The most bizarre addition has to be the Omega Sentinel. She was just a cop who was transformed by the evil Bastion into a cyborg whose top priorities were mutant slaying and more mutant slaying. She was able to overcome her programming, however, as she was in love with a mutant, and love, as we all know, is greater than any advanced electronic weaponry. Can I get an amen? Number 5. Cyclops, not who we make him out to be. The very first X-Men of them all, Cyclops is perhaps the most misunderstood, and his fault lies within the ignorance of the general public. Just to establish a few factual errors, Cyclops does not actually shoot lasers from his eyes. What he actually emits, similar to Chris Brown, are actually beams of pure concussive force. Also, for those who are interested, it was recently explained that the beams actually come from another dimension and his eyes are actually just acting as portals. Yep, okay, we'll just go on waiting until that's retcon then. Also, what the films don't tell us that in the comic book, Cyclops is a mother badass. He's completely decimated Sentinels, Apocalypse, Sinister, and more mutants than your mum's had gentlemen visitors. He's taken entire groups of X-Men at once and won using his knowledge of their skills against them. Scott is a major player not just amongst the X-Men but within the entire Marvel universe. It's really quite sad how poorly he's been treated in the films, but maybe one day we'll get to see him use those portal eyes in full effect. Number 4. The entire Phoenix Saga. Oh, the Phoenix Saga, one of the best and most memorable X-Men storylines. It's also one of the most convoluted storylines in all of comic book history. Therefore, it's no wonder why so many people make mistakes when it comes to Jean Grey and the Phoenix Force. First of all, the Phoenix Force is not Jean's mutation. It's a cosmic entity that chose Jean Grey as a vessel due to her extremely potent psionic abilities. So the two are very, very separate beings. Secondly, the woman that committed the terrible horrors during the Dark Phoenix Saga was not Jean Grey. That's right, Jean did not commit murder on a cosmic scale, but rather it was the Force having taken on her form, memories, and overall identity. The real Jean Grey was later found to have been safely preserved in a telekinetic cocoon residing at the bottom of Jamaica Bay. Thirdly, Jesus, there's like 50 more points left on this list. Okay, listen, all you need to know is that this is a super complex series of events, and there's so much here that I'm sure to make mistakes myself. So if you want to learn more, grab the comic books and an ice pack for your head and let the madness wash over you. You've been warned though. Number 3. Evolution of the Beast. No X-Men has gone through as many changes as the lovable blue-haired scientist Henry McCoy. What started as a simple mutation has since become exploited by many writers until he became the true Beast that we know today. Beast's mutation at first was nothing more than me going through puberty, enlarged hands and feet, incredible strength, and grappling feats similar to those of other primates. The film X-Men First Class actually portrayed Hank's original mutation quite well, despite getting the rest horribly wrong. Beast first donned his furry suit shortly after he left the X-Men. While working at a genetics research facility, Hank came up with a formula that allows users to become a mutant for a short period of time. He uses it on himself in order to enhance his already existing abilities so that he can foil an attempt to steal his research. He waits too long, however, to reverse the process and becomes permanently mutated, now more feral and covered in grey fur. Beast's fur didn't actually turn blue until much later when for some reason or other blue became the go-to colour for mutation. I mean, personally, I blame Eiffel 65 because of their famous saying, "I'm blue, abba-dee, abba-doo." Number 2. Membership is exclusive. While the X-Men have accepted many members throughout the years, both mutant and not, they have been somewhat iffy about who they allow within their ranks. It's not that they're incredibly picky, but like any team of superheroes, one must choose wisely when deciding who will fight alongside them. And just by being the third cousin of Angel with the cosmic ability to give yourself brain damage whenever you want isn't going to get you immediate access. Instead, the X-Men work in offshoots, with other teams taking the mantle of saving the world, like X-Force or New Mutants, Excalibur, X-Factor, and other much worse named groups. This way the main team doesn't get too overcrowded and teaches the world that segregation is still okay. Shame. Number 1. Wolverine, Wolverine, Wolverine. The most overrated X-Man of all time, shut up, he is. Wolverine is a magnet for incorrect assumptions, common misconceptions, and adulterated fanboy bullshit. It's not all their fault though, as Marvel keeps changing the explanation for his powers, origin, and general history while simultaneously managing to allow the character to appear in 7 different ongoing comics. To begin with, Wolverine is far from immortal and there are multiple ways in which he can die. Though Wolverine ages much slower than usual humans, he will still eventually die of old age. Furthermore, it's been stated by the Xavier Protocols that the most effective way to kill Wolverine would be to remove his head from his body, thereby separating the heart and brain. As far as Wolverine's origins go, there are so many facts that are usually misinterpreted. For instance, his name is not actually Logan, but James Howlett. And despite what the films lead you to believe, Sabretooth is in no way related to Wolverine by familial means. And despite what romantic tension Wolverine and Jean have in the films, they were never actually together, though the two did share a kiss on at least 2 occasions, both of which they did when they thought they were going to die, because, you know, last resorts and all that. Lastly, Wolverine is only 5'3". Take that, Hugh Jackman, in your big, rippled, confusing body. No, shame! And that's our list. If you want to discuss mutants further without mentioning Donald Trump, then you can do so in the comments below. And if you want to split the atom with me, you can do so here and here. If you enjoyed the video, then like, share, and subscribe. I've been Jules from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.